Right. So, Ramesh, అది కెమెరా అదేలే కదా కాదు కాదు అది ఆన్ చేయలే కదా ఏం కదా ఓకే రైట్ aspirants, I'm Ramesh, senior faculty economy. Today I have to start Indian economy group 2 English medium aspirants, especially with reference to Indian economy English medium. Majority of the aspirants, around 90%, they are having non-economics background. That's why they are not able to cope up with the subject. Why? Because this subject is having not only subjects but linked with the vocabulary of economy. Recently in economic survey, they mentioned GVA growth rate 7.3%, GDP growth rate 7.4%. So here we have a language. Simply they mentioned GVA growth rate 7.3%, GDP growth rate 7.4%. Generally these two words seem alike, but we have a clear-cut considerable difference presence between these two words, must be unearthed. So the subject economy is having right subject problem, then next one is the vocabulary problem. So that's why subject and vocabulary must go like hand in gloves. Then only we cope up with the subject. Otherwise some irritation, anxiety likely to erupt it. So in my class, right, both are given equal priority, right? Generally gross value added, it is treated as supply. Gross domestic product treated as demand. How it is treated as supply, how it is treated as demand, to be discussed in detail in the chapter, not now, right? Okay. So that's why here I opted to share the fundamentals today with you. Why? Because directly we can't enter into the topic. Our topic, national income, to be discussed, but we need to finish the needed vocabulary to enter into the topic. Must be unearthed, must be discussed. I think it's clear. So the problem, right, it is the right job decider, right, either AP or Telangana, it doesn't matter. Of course in AP 75 marks for group 2, but overall syllabus above 150 marks, right? They reduced marks, but they didn't reduce the syllabus. And with reference to Telangana, right, it is for 150 marks. So that's why here we need to have a perfect idea in the subject. Then only we get the required desirable amount of marks in this subject, right? So before start the original topic, that is national income, I have to write clarify the vocabulary, right, which is needed. The core vocabulary clarification badly needed for the aspirant. Why? Because as I told you, right, only 10% of the aspirants are knowing the fundamentals, the background of the right subjects. Then a residual number around 90, right, are facing some problems in economy study. So that's why in my class, such irritation is avoided. Why? Because subject and language both are given equal importance, right? You see here, person, right? Person is having desires, right? Desire, want. These desires are satisfied by the your good and service. So here people happiness, right, linked with the goods and services, right? If people enjoyed by the goods and services a lot, their standard of living, their happiness rise upwards. So it is understood that people happiness simply linked with goods and services. So here goods are visibles, services are invisibles, but both are giving satisfaction. Goods are touchable, goods are touchable, services are untouchable, but both are giving satisfaction. Both are giving satisfaction. The satisfaction word in economy, utility. So it is understood that this is the decider, but having some fundamentals. Fundamentals and subject needed to be unearthed, discussed equally. In such a way, preparation should be done, right? So here our happiness linked with goods and services. These goods and services treated as economy. I think it's here. Yes. So Indian economy, Telangana economy, Andhra Pradesh economy, American economy, Taiwan economy, Thailand economy, Vietnam economy, Japan economy. So every country is having their own economy, but economy gives goods and services. These two satisfy the people desires, right? If you wanted to provide happiness, required amount of happiness to the people who are residing in the country must produce goods and services at a desirable level. In such a way, measures should be taken. I think it's clear. So here, right, unknowingly the meaning we dealt, that is economy. I think it's here, economy, right? So economy is the word combination of goods and services, right? These two treated as economy, right? That's why here economy, right, must be well off. In such a measure should be taken. You see here in our India, lapse of 78 years of independence, still our economy seems weak. Okay, the main problem, we didn't take sufficient measures to increase the goods and services. That's why since 1947 till today, Indian economy is a developing economy, not a developed economy. So it is understood that this subject, right, is having fundamentals, interesting fundamentals, right? But we need to know equal priority besides subject but also vocabulary. So far we discussed the word economy. Finish, right? Economy gives happiness. Economy gives standard of living. If you wanted to eke out a beautiful life, you must have a rich economy. That's why people who are residing in weak economy simply moving towards strong economies. So Indians moving to American economy, but American people not moving to India. Why? Because India is having weak economy when we compare with American economy. So that's why here happiness of the people can be decided by the economy, right? That's why It is an interesting subject, but the reading way must be changed. I think it's here. So such interesting things, right, visible in my teaching, right? I think it's here. Yes. The word finish economy constitute two words. One is visible item, right? For example, right here, board, it is visible, goods, my class, service. From morning to night, we are linked with right goods and services, right? So that's why here we need to provide plenty, right, high quantity of goods and services to people in order to increase their right happiness. I think it's here. Yes, economy word right finish. Okay, right. So next word we take, that is economic system. Economic system. Right. You see here the word economy, economic system here seem alike. Right, seem alike. But we have a difference, considerable difference we have, right? So what is felt by you by listening the word which is economic system? Of course, I dealt it, right? Economy, no problem. Combination of goods and services which provide satisfaction. Okay, finish, right? But second word, just I wrote it here, economic system. Economic system means here, right, economy management. Economy management. So your management of economy treated as economic system. So every word is having its own definition, its own hidden meaning. First we get it, right? So management of economy. For example, the economy management done by the private people means goods and services are produced by the private people. If it is so, that is a capitalistic system. What is this? Capitalistic system. For example, management of economy done by the government, it is socialistic system. Socialistic system. If the management of economy done by the both private and government, it is the mixed economic system. I think it's clear. So ours is the mixed economic system. Soon after independence, Government of India adopted mixed economic system in which both private people, government entitled to produce goods and services. It is a beautiful economic system which was suggested by J.M. Keynes, right? So why? Because here, for example, if only private people produce the goods and services, what happens, right? They can grab the profits. They think about the profits. They don't consider the welfare of the people. It is a leakage in capitalistic system. For example, if economy dealt by socialistic, that is government. So government can't lead quality, right? This is a problem. Okay. So that's why here socialistic also not at desirable. That's why Mr. J.M. Keynes selected a mixed economic system. It is intermediary, right, between capitalistic and socialistic, that is mixed economic system. So Indian right system, it is a mixed economic system in which one side private, other side government produce the goods and services. This is mixed economic system. Beautiful system we are following. I think it's here. So far we dealt the word economy, right, constitutes goods and services. If goods and services produced by the private people named as capitalist system, it is propounded by Adam Smith. If goods and services produced by the government, it is social system propounded by Karl Marx. If goods and services produced by the private and government, it is a mixed system. So ours is the mixed system. So India selected a beautiful economic system, which is right, okay, mixed economic system. I think it's here. So far, two words we dealt. Word number one, economy, right? The second word, economic system. I think it's here. So that's why here we are right having good economic system, okay, but we didn't reach at desirable level. The reasons are different. We are going to deal in detail later. I think it's here. Yes. So here third word, right? Economic problem. Economic problem. So what do you mean by economic problem? What is felt by you by listening the word which is economic problem? Why economic problem is erupted? What was the reason behind the economic problem? Okay, we should try to unearth it. I think it's clear. Yes. So whenever mismatch presence between two opposite forces, then problem is erupted. Just I have to give one example. For example, you see market. You know market. Market is having two opposite forces. One is buyer force. Second one is seller force. These two opposite forces must be matched. For example, when mismatch is visible between these two, then economic problem is erupted. Economic problem may be in the form of unemployment. Economic problem may be in the form of inequality. Economic problem may be in the form of poverty, right? So numerous economic problems are being faced by the people globally. So we don't want economic problem. To do so, what we have to do? We need to match these two opposite forces equal, right? So here, so in economy, the word buy, right, demand. In economy, sell, it is supply. I think it's here. These two must be matched. In such a measure should be taken. So one side Reserve Bank of India, other side Government of India, they try a lot to match these two opposite forces. I think it's here. For example, mismatch is taking place. What happens? So economic problem is erupted. Simple. For example, you see demand, right, exceeds supply. Demand means here buyers are more. The market is having full of buyers, but no sell, no goods. What happens here? Here price rise upwards. Whenever demand exceeds the supply, then price rise upwards. The situation treated as inflation. The problem is inflation problem we are going to face, right? For example, inflation is entertained for longer period. Let us imagine we don't want to take any measure to eliminate inflation, keep on inflation going on. Let us imagine what happens. So whenever higher inflation is recorded, then buyers disappeared from the right markets. Simply, when buyers disappeared from the market, automatically sellers also disappeared from the market. Whenever sellers disappeared from the market, yes, then production is equals to zero. When production is equals zero, then unemployment problem is erupted. Production zero condition treated as depression. Very terrific problem is depression. I think it's clear. So whenever demand exceeds supply, price rise upwards. If you don't take measures towards elimination of high demand, high price, then buyers affected, they disappear, later sellers affected, they disappear, ultimately production becomes zero. The production zero condition treated as depression, very terrific problem in economy is the depression. So you see here in 1929-30s, globe faced depression. I think it's here. For example, situation seems like this: supply exceeds. Let another problem: supply exceeds. When supply exceeds, right? Okay, supply exceeds demand. What happens here? Price downwards. Price downwards. I think it's here. Price downwards. So when price downwards, what happens? Right? Whenever price downwards beyond limits, the sellers affected first of all. The sellers affected. When sellers affected, immediately buyers also affected. So sellers disappear, buyers disappear, ultimately production is equals zero. That is depression. I think it's clear. Yes. So it is understood that these two opposite forces must be matched. In such a way, measures should be taken. Right? For example, if you don't care about the price rise, don't care about the price downwards, what happens? Depression takes place. Whenever price down continuously, what happens? Deflation taking place. Deflation leads to depression. Whenever price rise is taking place, inflation taking place, then depression take place. It is understood that, right? Two opposite forces we have. These two must be matched. In such a measure should be taken. I think it's clear. So here, so far, three words dealt. One is economy, right? Then economic system, then economic problem, right? So with this we understood that the subject is having fundamentals. You see here, Indian economy facing numerous economic problems because of mismatch between demand and supply. Because of mismatch between demand and supply, unemployment problem, inequality problem, poverty problem, malnutrition problem, right? Numerous problems we are facing. When these two are matched, no problem. I think it's here. That's why India selected a beautiful economic system, that is mixed economic system, right? But the problem is we are not implementing as James Keynes assumed. That is the problem we are facing. I think it's here. So that's why here if you wanted to write refer the budget, economic survey, book, magazine, paper, we are having plenty of vocabulary in economy. That's why initially I told you, in economic survey, if you observe the latest economic survey, GVA growth rate 7.3%, GDP growth rate 7.4%. So we need to unearth the difference, then only we get a passion. I think it's here. That's why GVA is the supply, GDP is the demand. I think it's here. So how GVA is the supply, how GDP is the demand, to be discussed later in its original chapter, that is national income. I think it's here. Yes. So here now we need to move into a fourth word. How many words dealt so far? 3 words dealt so far. Okay. One more word to be taken. Yes. Okay. You see here, that is economics. Economics. I think it's here. So all words seem alike. All words seem alike. Okay, subtle, insignificant difference we have. Such difference must be unearthed to get passion. You see here, passion is very important. Why? Because in AP economy is the decider, even though less quantity of S marking, syllabus as it is, right? In Telangana also, even in civils also, right? In prelims, mains, right? Interview, right? In every step, economy role is crucial. But how you get enjoyment in the subject? Only one thing, that is subject and economic vocabulary, right? You see here, before starting my class, you are in a confusion. What is economy? Simple, combination of goods and services which can satisfy our wants. Then economic system, management of economy, private, government, right? Then both. The next one, economic problem. Why economic problem is erupted? Why people, right, crying, right? Why people subjected suicides? What are the problems, right? Okay. Why poverty? Why inequality? Why yes unemployment? Why malnutrition? These are all problems dealt right in economy. Just these problems, right? These problems are erupted because of right mismatch between demand and supply. I think it's here. Yes. So last one, just I have to right deal this word, right? With that I can conclude. So here economics. You see here in social studies, right? We have a economic subject is having Nobel Prize, right? No other social study is having right Nobel Prize, right? Why? Because here the people happiness linked with the economy. That is the problem, right? Okay, you see here economics. So what do you mean by economics, and what is felt by you by listening the word which is economics, right? Okay, you see here uh, goods and services already ideal. Goods and services already ideal. Okay, these goods and services consumption, these goods and services production, these goods and services exchange, these goods and services distribution, right? Okay, so your consumption of goods and services, production of goods and services, exchange of goods and services, then distribution of goods and services. This is a standard definition, right, which is right visible in Oxford Dictionary for economics. I think it's clear. Yes. So first, just briefly, I have to write deal about these, right? Okay, you see here consumption. So consumption of goods and services. Why we have to consume means to satisfy our wants. Morning to night, people consume goods and services to satisfy their wants. So consumption is one of the branches of economics, right? Generally in official word, we can use as a PFC. We are going to deal about in detail later, not now, right? Private final consumption expenditure, right? Around 61% of the right Indian GDP simply coming from consumption, to be dealt later, not now. Okay, keep aside. Next one is production, right? Okay, who produces the goods and services which are used by us, which are consumed by us from morning to night? Okay, here producers are the factors. Producers are the factors. Who are the factors? Here land is a factor, labor is a factor, capital is a factor, organization is the factor, technical knowledge is a factor. So to be dealt in a class, right, one by one with notes, okay. But here just briefly I am explaining about all these. So land, right, labor, capital, organization, technical knowledge, these five right factors are there. These five factors enable to produce the goods and services. For example, you see here we are in right building, right? So factors constructed this building. For example, you see land. Okay, the land is given first priority, right? What is the land and what is given by the land? Okay, how land is useful? What is given by the land in production process? What is the duty of the land in production process to be dealt? You see here land role is giving raw material. I think it's here raw material is a crucial duty of the land. For example, just I wore shirt, the shirt Yes, coming from thread coming from cotton from cotton tree. Again, cotton tree came from land itself. For example, fan is there. Before fan, yes, iron sheets, iron ore again coming from the land itself. I think it's clear. Yes, it is understood that whatever the good we are using simply came from land itself, but in the form of raw material. Then next, labor. Labor means work. Work is done by the worker. What is the duty of the worker? Worker can change the raw material into finished goods. Just I can't wear cotton. Cotton must be changed into thread. Thread must be changed into cloth. Cloth must be changed into shirt. These are the processes done by the worker. So worker also very important. Next one, the capital, machinery. With bare hands, the worker can't produce goods and services. Can a worker can produce goods services with bare hands? No, highly impossible. Yes, the worker is given that machinery, right? The machinery and worker both can convert the raw material into finished goods. I think it's clear. That's why here this is the role of the capital. Then organizer. So what is done by the organizer in production process? What is the duty of the organizer? Okay. So here organizer can assemble rest factors at a single site to realize production, right? He can procure land, he can procure labor, he can procure capital. Yes, everything procured by the organizer to realize the production. So organizer role is crucial. CEO. I think it's clear. Yes. So next one is technical knowledge. You see here, when you are having these four factors, land, labor, capital, organization, just you can produce goods. But mere production of goods not important here. Qualitative goods are very important. Qualitative goods are important. If you wanted to produce qualitative goods, then only you can export your goods to abroad. So exports are done by the quality goods. Quality comes from technical knowledge. That is technology, research and development, innovation, novelty, okay, higher education. These are needed. So recently, yes, AI, eruption. I think it's clear. That's why it is understood that goods are produced by the four factors, but qualitative goods are produced by the five factors. I think it's here. This is production. One more word is the exchange. What is exchange? Just now itself I explained. Two opposite forces are there. That is market, demand and supply. So why exchange is needed? The main reason, neither a person nor a country self-sufficient in the world must be exchanged. You see, for example, India geographically weak, that's why we need to import petrol from other countries. That's all. We can't produce petrol. We are weak in petroleum production. On the same line, every country must depend on others. Either it is a developing country or developed country, doesn't matter. For example, you see between China and America, right? America is having trade deficit. Of course, America is the number one ranked country in national income. However, America is having trade deficit with China. The reason is America is the service-based economy. China is the goods-based economy. I think it's clear. Yes. So it is understood that here exchange. Exchange means market, domestic market, international market. I think it's clear. Yes. That's why since 1991, we opened our gates. We are following free trade 1991. I think it's clear. Then distribution of remuneration, especially land is given, rent is distributed, labor wage is distributed, capital interest is distributed. I think it's clear. Yes. So in this session we discussed how many words? 4 words. Economy word I dealt it, right? Okay. Then economic system I dealt it. Yes. Then economic problem I dealt it. Then economics also dealt it. So you you might observe that this subject is of plenty of vocabulary. But if you ignore vocabulary, if you keep aside the vocabulary, then anxiety, some irritation comes. So your vocabulary, a subject must go like hand in gloves. Then only we get passion. I think it's clear. Yes, I have to conclude the session, right? Okay. So here I am going to write open economy, Indian economy, English medium besides Telugu medium, right? Okay. So you avail the opportunity, right? Okay. White Page Academy and also Ramesh Sir Institute of Economy, right? You must be enrolled. Why? Because we have a live session and also recording videos, right? Okay. So thank you.